What should you do if your favorite spinning reel is dirty and won't spin properly anymore? Well, don't throw it in the trash. Stay tuned and I'll show you how to properly maintenance your reel so it'll last longer. Hello, I'm John Marsh, R3 Program Manager for the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. I'm going to show you how to clean and lubricate a spinning reel. Some of the supplies that you'll need include degreaser, an old rag, makeup remover squares, toothpicks, reel grease, flat and Phillips head screwdrivers, Q-tips, pipe cleaner, some old toothbrushes, a napkin, lubricating oil, and a silicone mat. So we're going to work on this spinning reel. It's a front drag spinning reel. There are rear drag spinning reels that have the drag on the bottom, but the first thing we're going to do is unscrew the drag adjustment. The reason for that is we want to take off this spool because you don't want to get the degreaser on this line. It could ruin your fishing line. So we're going to take that spool off, set that aside. I put some degreaser inside a glass container, and we're just going to dip the toothbrush inside this degreaser and work over this wet rag and just kind of clean this reel as best you can. Really get in there with that toothbrush and clean out all these little crevices. Try not to get any degreaser on this this shaft here. You don't want it going inside there and getting inside of your gears and getting them wet. So we're just going to kind of clean this off. I'll get this damp rag, just water, and just kind of get that degreaser off of there, wiping it down, you know, making sure things are clean. And then the next thing we'll do, we'll take off the handle. A lot of the handles nowadays have this little handle knob. You just unscrew that. Put that aside. The handle will pull out and set that down there. You'll see here and here on each side of the spool, you're going to put a little bit of oil inside of that ring there, just to lubricate it. And you can use a Q-tip to kind of clean that out. You're going to want to lubricate. Just a couple of drops. These handles nowadays are reversible. You can actually put it on either side if you want to reel in right-handed or left-handed. So I could put it on either side. I usually reel in right-handed, so I'm going to put it on this side. And now your reel handle's lubricated. What I would do is this shaft goes up and down as you reel. Make sure that's out as much as possible and just take off any excess fluid with your napkin, and just put like a couple of drops of new oil on that shaft and a couple of spins of the handle, and that oil will work itself in to the main body. The next thing that we'll do is we're going to use our screwdriver. This one's a Phillips, and we're going to remove this lower casing part. the faceplate, the bottom faceplate, because that is where the gears are. And you want to lubricate these gears with some grease. You know, get off the old grease, put on some new one. So I got the bottom faceplate off. I had to take off the bell housing to do it, but it is off. And I cleaned out the inside. You'll see here there's some extra grease in there. I'm going to take that out with a Q-tip. Try to remove as much of that extra grease as you can. You don't want it inside your housing so much. So what I'll do now is I'll take some of this real grease and I'll put a little bit right on the teeth of this gear. You don't want a whole bunch. And then underneath here, there's some teeth on this large gear. I'm just going to put just a little bit underneath there too. That looks pretty good to me. Got most of that grease off, the excess grease. What we'll do now is we can put the you're going to put this on so it just snaps back into place. Don't force anything. And then just screw it back on, that housing. That uses a Phillips screwdriver. So you got your housing, it's all lubed up. You're going to put in, and you got to make sure you're putting in these screws in the right spot. So somehow make sure that you line these up so you know where they go when you're going to put it back together. So what we want to do is put the bottom part on, and there's a screw that goes right there. So that goes on, kind of hops into place there. You're going to screw that screw in, and then the housing's back in place completely. Make sure everything's all cleaned up. So like I said, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to put this handle back on the right side. Put just a little bit of grease in here before you tighten it. So that's going to go through. You're going to put the handle knob, tighten that down. You'll have your handle in place. It takes quite a bit of screwing on because it's such a long screw. And you'll see the shaft go up and down. I'll put a little bit of oil at the bottom here. So there's a little post here. I'm going to oil right on that post. The bell assembly is going to go back into place. just like that. I'm going to line it up. The spool goes on after you put these gears on, so you have this nut that you got to tighten down. Remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So we finished tightening the bell assembly. Tightened that down. On the bottom of the spool, there's going to be a little spring that contacts the gear on the shaft. Put a little bit of oil on that spring. Then we got to put the gear back on the shaft. Make sure it lines up. Try to put it in the same order that it came off. You got the gear, then this plastic little piece like a plastic washer, and then this Teflon piece. So that gear will contact the inside of this spool. That goes back into place. Then what you'll do is tighten the drag all the way down to hold the spool in. And the last thing you'll do, this bell arm here, there's a screw here. This is where the line rolls on when you're reeling in. So this little part here rotates. What you want to do is loosen or totally unscrew the bell arm. There's going to be a little bearing inside here. Just put some oil on that bearing. And then just tighten that back down. That'll help it rotate better when the line goes over the little roller. And you might just lube up right here where the bell arm goes down. There's a little seam here. Work a little oil into there. If you get extra oil, just wipe it off. And that's how you clean and lubricate a spinning reel. I'd recommend doing this about once a year, just to remove all the stuff that accumulates in it and to keep it nice and smooth, and this will make your gear last longer.